Hi, welcome to STEAM Kids. I'm Michelle with Colorado Model Railroad Museum.
And I'm Mistie Trefry, and you're tuning in for our second part of our paleontology, where we're going to focus on excavation today.
Yep, today we're talking about excavating. So the first thing I thought about is we really should define excavating.
Absolutely.
What does it mean to excavate something? And there's actually kind of two meanings. One is to dig or scoop out to create a cavity. Like when you want to build a home with a basement, you have to excavate the ground down so there's room for the basement to be built in that hole in the ground.
Right.
And the same with foundations for buildings, so they have to excavate the ground to do that. The other thing, the other meaning of it is to expose to view something by digging away the covering of it. And that's often what we do in paleontology. And there's an example right here on the cover of this book that shows where they've dug away the dirt and you see just the example of the bones. And so often when you see paleontologists, the photos will be like this of the dinosaur as it is in the ground, as the bones are found in the ground. And a lot of times they leave it at this state while they study the actual site because there's stuff to be learned around the bones. So, you have to do the entire site. What kind of rocks are they in?
Right.
What kind of ground is around it? What kind of plants are there? What kind of things give us clues to the environment at that time? And so often they spend a lot of time at an excavation site before they actually like take a bone out of the site. So kind of an interesting thought there.
Because all of that other information, it provides a story.
It does. It tells
It tells the story, the whole, as much of the whole story as we can possibly get. Absolutely.
So how do you actually look for a fossil to excavate it? Well, for one thing, you need to do some research on where would fossils possibly be found. We know they're found in the Mesozoic era. So where on the planet were the dinosaurs during that era? And so there's been a lot of study on that, and you can actually research that and find out where to look. A lot of it is in our part of America, the whole Rocky Mountain region, from Montana all the way down to Arizona, New Mexico. So Wyoming, Colorado, South Dakota, Nebraska, they all have dinosaurs in them. And so a lot of times someone will be hiking.
Yes.
Or if somebody's doing construction work, they might be digging and excavating down and they'll see a little bit of something.
Or even working their land on a farm or something. They could find, which a lot of people actually have found fossils on their farms.
Exactly.
Just because sometimes you plant things, you work the ground up, and there's another layer that reveals itself over time.
Removing some dirt and exposing a surface, there might be a bone in there.
Absolutely.
We have kind of an example just for fun, just to kind of show how you could be walking along and just see part of something.
Absolutely. Like, this looks just like a rock, right? And it is a rock.
It is a rock.
It really is.
It's a rock that I found with my father when I was a kid.
But, now, did you find it as it is before I reveal it?
No, we cracked it open.
All right. So this rock,
because it was round.
Inside, you'll find it's a geode. And it was completely... This is how the entire rock looked. But Michelle and her dad, it was a great thing. You had good eyes and thought, let's check it out. Because look what is revealed inside. You never know what you're going to find. Absolutely.
Also, we have some other things in here that would, we don't actually own a very large dinosaur bone, but we were using our petrified wood.
Yes.
To show how you might see an edge, and you could take a brush and you could brush away the dirt and expose that fossil in there. Can you see? I don't know, hopefully y'all can see that at home. It's kind of the fun thing about excavating.
Yes.
It's like finding new things all the time and exploring.
Does anybody see the shark tooth that was in there yesterday? Do you see the shark tooth?
I don't know. There's other fossils around. There might be one nearby.
Oh, look, there's something. Oh, it looks like that might be something.
There's just a little
that might
bit
be
right
something,
there.
a little exposure. Okay, let's see.
Oh, look, there it is.
Look at that. There it is.
It's that shark tooth from our other episode. So that's just a little sample of what it might be like outside, since we can't bring you outside. We can't go outside and film.
Absolutely. And something that's really important I want to kind of talk about is in September, we'll be doing geology. So we're going to have access to other geodes that you'll be able to have at home or take with you. So stay posted and tuned on that. I'm going to just leave that there. It's so pretty as a reminder of what's below the surface.
We know that fossils are mostly found in sedentary rock. And if you remember the fossil that we had found with all the seashells the other day, this one, it's going to be in rock like that and in ground like that, that's very sedentary, that has packed down. So when you do find a fossil, like we have these kind of buried here, if we wanted to take them out of the ground and take them back to a museum to be studied, we have to protect them. So what scientists use and paleontologists use to do this is plaster. And our last one, we had these little plaster dinosaurs. It's this material.
Yep, same material.
Our first lesson. This is plaster. It's interesting that the same material is actually used in modeling.
It is an interesting fact.
I know. It's called plaster cloth, and it looks like this. And I know that scientists use something very similar, but very much bigger to protect the bone.
Paleontologists use this
Yes. So it's got plaster that hasn't been activated yet, so it needs to get wet, and then it will blend around and become solid plaster.
And note how this would be easier to take out into the middle of nowhere than like a bag of powdered plaster.
So when they do pull a bone out of the ground, they will wrap it with cloth and plaster, whether it's preformed or they use cloth and mix the plaster and paint it on, and they'll wrap it around that bone. And then when it dries, it's hard like this. You can feel what you had yesterday. Or the last lesson, I should say, how it's hard, and that protects it. And then when they get back to the museum, they can crack the plaster off.
Yes.
And the bone is preserved. And that's how you keep the bones safe, so they don't chip or break in travel.
They also sometimes use it to, they may not break it off, but they'll take the bone out. So it's also a way to put the puzzle together without using the actual bone.
Right. So they use pieces of bones and use plaster to hold that together to show you what the dinosaur's head would look like, the skull would look like. So in your kit, you actually have a little bit of powdered plaster in your Ziploc bag.
Right here. And you should have a little dinosaur too. I don't have the dinosaur with me. But we gave a little dinosaur. So what you would do is, without the dinosaur, I don't think I'm going to actually do this. You want to do a half of a cup of water. Some warm water is best. And then you'll put it in the bag.
Right in the bag.
Right, and you'll seal the bag back up after you put it in there.
Work it in your hand.
And just kind of massage it until it's mixed in there. And then you'll take the dinosaur that came with your kit, the little dinosaur, about 1 inch high, and you'll put it in there. And you'll just kind of work it in. And then what you want to do is lay it flat to dry.
Sealed.
Yeah,
make sure it's sealed after
make sure it's sealed, absolutely. And so then, after some time, this is what it's going to look like. And then you'll want to go ahead and take it and rip your...
Well, what you want to do is when you lay it down, leave it sealed for an hour.
Okay.
Then unseal it for the next 3 hours.
All right. So...
And this one's been in for 4 hours, and then you're going to pull the bag off like Mistie's doing.
Yes.
But it's still going to... Hers is still a little wet because we made it this morning.
It feels gooey on my hand a little. That's okay.
But let yours fully dry, and then you're going to have something like that.
Now, do you remember we talked about exposure? Sometimes just a little tiny piece of the sediment or bone or the element that we're going to excavate will be exposed. And that's what paleontologists call bones, is elements. So if somebody says we got 40 elements out, that's 40 bones, or it could be 40
or chips of bone,
chips of bone. Yeah, so
that make up a bone.
Yes,
and they're all numbered and categorized at the site,
right?
So they know exactly where everything came from.
Scientists are great at record keeping. Record keeping is key for a lot of things.
So we know you can't do this with us right now because you need to mix the powder and then let that set a while. But when it's all done and totally dry, it'll look like mine, which is, hopefully you can see the white. Here, let me hold the. See how it's white? And I've actually started just a little bit. I hunted around and I finally found an edge of my dinosaur right there. And to do that, I actually used a flat-tipped screwdriver, which is my favorite thing to work with because it's pretty safe.
It is.
And you can take it, and once you find a little piece, like you have a little piece of foot. I had a little piece of foot sticking out. Then you just sort of rub like this, just lightly rub. And you'll see it just scratches the surface off. And then you can take a brush like this. This is just a kid's art brush, and brush that powder away so you can see what you're doing and just scratch a little bit more. You could also use like a plastic, I have a little plastic art tool here that's kind of knife shaped if you wanted to get like in a little line and a little groove. You could use this end. You can use a screw, like Mistie's using a screw, and you just sort of find the edges of it and scratch it away. It's going to take you a lot of time. We're probably not going to complete this on video today, but I just wanted to show you the technique. Brush it away, all the excess, and I don't know if you can see, but we have a thigh, a tail, and we're getting the upper arm now. And so I'm gonna guess his head is up here,
Right.
if I keep excavating him.
Michelle, I just thought of this. Let's try to, do we have our crayons here still?
Oh no, we put him
Okay.
up there.
Well, you know, it's something at home. What you can do when you get to the point where Michelle is, take a piece of white paper and a crayon and rub it and see if you can make the fossil like we did yesterday when we were rubbing fossils out of the dinosaur you're excavating.
Yep, and so see, I can just keep scratching away. So it's not something that you hurry.
No.
Paleontology is very patient. Paleontologists have to be extremely patient.
Paleontologists.
Because even if this were a giant bone, you're still going to use a small tool and a small brush.
Because the
and
key,
you're going to be very, very careful about.
Yes, the key is to not not damage the bone or anything like that. Because remember, paleontologists are discovering things that are thousands and millions of years old. So we can't go to the grocery store and replace those.
With them, right? So that's kind of what we're doing, and we hope you enjoy your excavation project. I think it's fun. I'm enjoying myself.
And before we sign off, a thank you to the Greeley station for donating their time and expertise in production. We really do appreciate them very much. Their mission is to bring communities, businesses, and organizations together. So do stay tuned. Follow them on YouTube. And remember, this will be posted on our page tomorrow, Colorado Model Railroad Museum Facebook page. But you could watch it anytime now on the Greeley Station's YouTube channel.
Yep. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you for next week. We talk about herbivores and carnivores.
Absolutely.
So we will see you next time.
Continue exploring. Thank you.